Hello everyone, how are you? How are you all today? I'm sorry to see you come, sweetie, if your name is Shah Diddy Combs. What am I talking about, you guys? Okay, so Shenedy Kokum Sust consented to turn over certain assets to the federal authorities. Here's the problem though. When you look at the exhibits, all you see are laptops, cell phones, and other devices. Everyone wanted to know why he had so many computers, laptops, and phones. I believe they confiscated every home's electronics. Remember that his children have computers, laptops, and phones. All okay? All right. Who gives a damn? Where despite the fact that he did own the Tepeiza Ibiza trip. What was on that cassette, I wonder? But put that out of your mind because there is something even more significant there. Many individuals fail to notice that the government did not give up its authority to impose any more forfeitures, and whether they can discover any connections, by which I mean any connections, between Diddy's actions and anything from his homes to his vehicles to his private jets, where he once assisted in facilitating any of the aforementioned acts under the Mammoth. Guess what, sweetheart? The federal government will actually try to get forfeitin, tie everything back. Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Because ETs, be honest, here's the deal. So we really need to get into it. It will be difficult for them if he demands something like the forfeit. Did, I believe, have for free Frikossen, the LA residents. But unless they can demonstrate that it happened a very, very few times, it will still happen. The practical implementation of such FOA forfeitat will become challenging. But are you aware of what the government did demonstrate? Are you aware that the government has proven in court that Diddy covered the cost of transportation? He used corporate firm accounts to pay for prostitutes and rent for individuals. And Diddy will suffer a significant financial loss if they are able to complete that link. We love to see this, so let's get started, you guys. All right, let's start from the beginning. In case you are unaware, there are two primary categories for counterfeit goods, correct? Proceeds are made. That includes everything acquired through illegal means. So let's just assume that he made money, laundered money, or received money like a pimp selling people. All right, that would be fine. I understand what you're saying, but here's the trouble. All okay, Babatisa? E didn't have this or the Rio. All okay? All right. However, what does it ultimately boil down to? Property facilitation. Anything, even if it wasn't bought with illicit funds, that is used to carry out or encourage criminal activity. For instance, a home studio. A studio purportedly used to house, enlist, transport, or film women implicated in the trafficking scheme. Or a recording space, hotel suite, or jet sous vide used to perform or cover up those activities. You guys, if the property was used to enable the behavior, it could still be forfeited even if it wasn't purchased with illicit funds. Additionally, that is automatically triggered by sex trafficking. Even though the Mammoth has racial origins, it is currently utilized to combat sex trafficking, even if I am aware that he was not found guilty of the crime, correct? You must consider the significance of this. Any residences, occupants, or real estate parcels used to support or acquire the violation are mentioned in the agreement's wording. The important thing is to enable. It grants the Department of Justice extensive authority to target not only bank accounts, but even the actual sites of the actions. All right? Here's the thing, isn't it? Since the inquiry is lengthy, prosecutors are free to show a tater if they so desire. They can thereafter demonstrate that a home, a studio, or a yacht was utilized for trafficking, coercion, or prostitution. Under federal law, it subsequently turns into a facilitation property and is immediately forfeitable, even if it was purchased lawfully years before. Diddy's promise to be fair doesn't mean that he's immediately giving up all of his rights, but it does mean that he can't dispute it in some situations, or that the government can still pursue the forfeited money as long as they have a link. The lease that Jane is under is, after all, the most important thing, right? That lease may be taken over by the federal government, which could then declare, yeah, you can't use that anymore. More significantly, though, we must examine the bank accounts when it comes to that because of the following. Diddy acknowledged using corporate bank accounts in court, or at the very least, it was established that he did so in order to make payments. travel, take flights, and cover the costs of unlawful behavior. Okay? Let's imagine that a freak occurred at a rental property. Hotels, Airbnbs, rented houses may all be considered facilitation property if they were reserved for prostitution and trafficking. That was definitely booked by Diddy. It leads me to believe that he preferred to have them in hotels rather than his home because his lawyer advised him not to do so. That might be taken by them. Because once more, as Judge Arun states, this demonstrates that he is utilizing unlawful property. The aim at the moment of use, however, is crucial. He is typically seen as an innocent owner if he rented it expressly for these purposes that are meant to assist the landlord, property owner, or Airbnb, hotel, or anything else. However, the right to occupy it or the leasehold interest may still be forfeited or used as proof. Therefore, even if they are not his, rents utilized for acts constitute compelling proof of facilitation. Get this, too. The money spent to rent, reserve, or outfit the property becomes revenue that can be linked to the violation if Diddy used his own money or corporate funds to pay for these rents. And this is where he will be. This implies that even while the property itself cannot be taken, bank accounts, Venmo, Zelle, transfers, or credit cards used in those reservations can. Once more, in reality, prosecutors want clear documentary linkages, don't they? Flight logs containing the names of victims. They received the payment receipt, which revealed that the rental premises were being used illegally. Wasn't that Jane's whole thing? What he said? Did he not mention that he brought Jane there specifically so they could have free coughs and recordings or text messages demonstrating intent? To be true, they hardly ever attempt to confiscate primary residences or jets unless they have a solid paper trail, because doing so may result in a protracted legal struggle. However, short-term rental units are simple victories. What makes it so serious then? It did not pay for a free cough using corporate funds, which prosecutors categorize as trafficking of prostitutes, turning the money from a private moral matter to a criminal financial transaction. It transforms the money into corrupted proceeds, and the business becomes a tool of the crime. I understand what you have been waiting for, so here it is. Let's get right to the point. The GDOJ may take action to forfeit shares or membership units. The company was used primarily to facilitate or conceal criminal conduct. Other things the government could view include the specific corporate bank accounts used for those payments, any balance traceable to those funds, even if they were later commingled, business assets bought or maintained with that money, such as vehicles, equipment, or even a portion of a recording studio, and corporate interests themselves. Prosecutors were able to halt corporate corruption cases, Impasmex tribal cases, and company entities in this way. Recall the back pages of Jeffrey Epstein's corporate interests and Shell LLC. Here's how they demonstrate it. They don't have to prove that the entire business was dishonest, only that the transaction was deliberate and knowing, and that the account paid for an act that violates the Mon Act. It wasn't an accountant's mistake. Once more, what is the proof? Wire transfers, QuickBooks records for event planning that are tagged as trip bills, intermediary reimbursements, or corporate communications that approve payments. The DOJ requests that the judge add the business accounts of any traceable assets in the forfeiture order connected to the conviction, which is the typical course of events and the reason Diddy should be concerned. Well, they haven't done it yet, but they will begin shortly. Civil forfeiture. They have the right to bring a parallel in rem against the property action even in the absence of a conviction. This is the portion about which people claim Diddy is concerned, IRS or CI participation, since the cost of SMEX activities cannot be deducted as a business expense. They audit the books for tax evasion and fraudulent expense deductions. Listen, you all, technically speaking, the money Diddy used to pay for the act of relocating the snack is forfeitable. He used company accounts to make payments. The government demonstrated that if he tries to claim that the business accounts have already been depleted, they will simply apply the snatchback rule, declare that you moved money illegally while you were being prosecuted, and possibly even place a lien against his home. Did you not desire that? The corporate entity itself may be listed as a defendant or have his account confiscated. And any property acquired or kept with those monies becomes traceable property. Since company books lead to paper trails, which are far simpler to show than witness testimony, it's one of the quickest ways for the authorities to turn a man-made case involving financial crimes into a financial crimes case. You all pay attention. After that, he received his jail. Diddy's pal Tim Westwit is struggling and now has to deal with this forfeiture. Diddy, you guys, 2025 is going to be a terrible year, a poor 2025. In any case, please share your thoughts in the comments section. I'll speak with you all later. Goodbye.